On this edition of the Best of Muscle magazine, on the Edge System stage, we'll return to the Canadian National Championships. Many of the bodybuilders could easily beat some American champions. And the ladies? Toned, shapely, and yes, even feminine. Then, world champion powerlifter Gary Drigo demonstrates some of his award-winning lifting techniques. He's one of the strongest and best-built men in bodybuilding. And in GNC Nutrition News, Trent Mitchell discusses the benefits to bodybuilders of consuming beta-carotene. It's good for more than just building up high power. So join us as we begin another exciting edition of the Best of Muscle magazine. Muscle Magazine will return in just a moment.
Here's to McCain from the tiny and the small. For McCain Junior Juice is the best taste of all. McCain Junior Juice from Superb Concentrate is just enough juice and deliciously great. So let's have a junior and drink from the box. Uh-oh, time to split. Here comes the fox.
McCain Junior Juice, the just enough size.
Sunday, the action is fast and intense. Skim across the water for the checkered flag at the Valleyfield Regatta. Canadian Paul Tracy continues to dominate the American Racing Series. It's open wheel racing from East Rutherford, New Jersey. Then catch all the excitement of live Blue Jays baseball as the quest for the Eastern Pennant continues. Minnesota visits the Sky Dome. The Valleyfield Regatta, ARS Auto Racing, and live Blue Jays baseball, Sunday on TSN.
Welcome back to the Best of Muscle magazine. Last year, we featured the Canadian National Championships and found Mountie Muscle to be the most impressive we've seen anywhere in the world. John Kovic reports in this edition of the Edge System stage.
Some of the biggest bodybuilders in Montreal recently came to witness the most spectacular display of muscle in the history of Canadian bodybuilding. Nearly 100 of the country's nationally ranked physiques arrived early in the morning to check in, get weighed, and voluntarily drug tested to qualify for the Canadian team at the World Championships. Meantime, the theater was filling fast and excitement was in the air. Following an afternoon of prejudging, the women were back on stage first, starting with the lightweight class. Placing second was a bodybuilder who traveled from the other side of the country, Vancouver, British Columbia. Arminda Del Riviero is a personal trainer whose athletic background stems from dancing, from jazz to breakdancing, and with over 15 years experience. At 5'2" and weighing in at 108 pounds, she was the smallest lady on stage, but cast a beautifully shaped and extremely feminine body. Arminda trained with her 16-year-old brother Chico, but it was a stunning picture of model and bodybuilder Gladys Portuguese that inspired her to start weight training. Chasing Arminda and winning the lightweight class was a former cross-country runner, Laura Benetti from Toronto, Ontario. She started training under the influence of her bodybuilding dad, but knew that it would help her strength in running and improve her performances. Last year, Laura won the Canadian Couples Championship with her fiancé, Tim Marshall. At 5'3" and 113 pounds, she feels that lifting makes her feel better about herself. And on American bodybuilders, Laura says they're a lot more competitive and more egotistical too. Laura went on to win her class at the recent North American Championships, beating out many American bodybuilders. So take that, you Yankees. Moving on to the middleweights now with fourth place Sandra Loney from Calgary, Alberta. The 5'5", 123-pounder may be the Canadian version of the All-America athlete. In high school, Sandra played softball, participated in gymnastics, track and field, and started training when she was only 16 years old after reading a bodybuilding magazine. The 23-year-old lifter has maintained a completely natural outlook toward her training, and as a personal trainer, she prides herself as a living example to her clients of the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. Second in the middleweights was Kimberly Hughes, a position she's familiar with from last year's Canadian Championships. The Toronto native stands 5'4" and weighed in at 109 pounds. She's been in shows since 1985, but competed for the first time in the U.S. at the North Americas, placing third again. This 26-year-old critical care nurse also trains for competitive triathlon. The winner in the middleweight class isn't new to championship bodybuilding competitions. Lisetta Hansen from Edmonton, Alberta, has competed in the World Invitational in Tokyo, placing third in the heavyweight, and won the 1987 Hawaiian International Invitational. But the 5'6", 125-pound lifter has been competitive since the age of 5, when she was thrown into a pool by her parents to become a swimmer. Then on to high school basketball and something a little more feminine, ballet. And Lisetta likes to stay around competitive people, too, like her fiancé, John Mandrich, brother of the NFL's Green Bay Packer tackle, Tony Mandrich. If you've been thinking up to now that Canadian bodybuilding women are only beautiful because they're not that big, then behold the heavyweights. In third place was 5'9", 140-pound Leslie Cockwell, who's been training just over 2 years. Being big isn't new for Leslie. She's the tallest member of her family, even taller than her 5'7" dad. She was a national-level competitive swimmer for 13 years before taking up bodybuilding. But her thrills come in a variety of adventures, including mountain climbing, parasailing, and skiing. Jill McWhinney from Winnipeg, Manitoba, came in second among the heavies, but finds that bodybuilding can be more mentally than physically exhausting. Jill's whole family has participated in high-level athletics, and before 6 years of bodybuilding, she was a junior national-level volleyball and baseball player and performed gymnastics and ballet. At 5'4" and weighing 138 pounds, Jill has a firm structure. When she's not in the gym, Jill works as an airline reservation agent. Topping off the ladies' heavyweight class was Rita Bone, a Toronto police constable that walked into a gym the first time 6 years ago, not to weight train, but to meet men. Well, we didn't ask her how it affected her love life, but lifting sure has made a positive change on her body. Rita is 5'4" and weighs 134 pounds, and feels that among the benefits of lifting and competing, she likes most the freedom of physical artistic performing on stage.
Started a new career. Last year I became a police officer and quite enamored with that profession. And I don't have a lot of time. They do encourage my training, and I do train 6 to 7 days a week. But I don't really have aspirations to turn pro. I could have turned pro 2 years ago if I wanted to.
In the overall, it was Laura Benetti who took the Canadian honors home for 1989. But it was the whole lot of our that deserved to be winners. But then the ladies made way for the real muscle, the men's division. Some of these giants were veterans back for a final kill, and others were here for the first time to make their first impression on the national panel of judges. It started with the bantamweight, the little big men weighing under 143 pounds. Fred Kwan from Calgary placed second, standing 5'4" and weighing 142 pounds. He's trained since 1984, but like most of the Canadian bodybuilders we've met, Fred has been an athlete his whole life, with hockey, baseball, volleyball, and football his favorites. He qualified for the Canadian Nationals by winning the 85 Southern Albertas. Winning the bantamweight class was the French-speaking champion of the 1989 Mr. Montreal, Quebec, and Eastern Canada's. Luc Vivier is from Saint-Jean, Quebec, and has been training since the age of 14. He started training with his brother and a friend, but only Luc has continued with his passion. At 5'2" and weighing 130 pounds, the 29-year-old bodybuilder cycles and plays volleyball for athletic diversion. But it's pumping iron that comes first on his list in physical fitness. The lightweights displayed the kind of muscle size that you'd expect on men a lot heavier, and winning the class was 5'3", 149-pounder Francois Boivet from Montreal. The 25-year-old bodybuilder was weighing as much as 187 pounds in the off-season, so losing 38 pounds in 8 weeks was a challenge, especially since he hadn't competed for 2 years. Francois began weightlifting when he was 17, so after 8 years of training, a win at the Canadian Championships was a victory ever so sweet. The two top middleweights were veterans to national-level competition. In second place was Tony Fiardi from Laval, Quebec. The 28-year-old lifter has been training for 10 years, and the last 3 competing. He's competed in last year's Canadian Nationals and 10 other events, always placing first in his weight class. At 5'4" and weighing 175 pounds, Tony hit the top of the weight class, but gets up to 215 pounds in the off-season. Winning the middleweights was a familiar face among the Canadian bodybuilding community. Winston Green from Alberta is a 32-year-old who's won his weight class in 1985, 86, and again today. His training is benefited by having a supportive wife and 2-year-old son. His wife is a nutritionist, so dieting is something that becomes a little more practical during contest time when he changes his food intake to 80% carbohydrate, 15% protein, and 5% fat. Winston usually competes as a light heavyweight, but he is borderline, so he thought that dropping weight to the middleweights would force him to become a little sharper on stage. Moving up to the light heavies seems like walking into the land of the giants. Take a look at 5'7", 196-pound Rick Pajot from Winnipeg. He started out as an 18-year-old powerlifter, but soon realized that his body genetics were too good to waste strictly on power. Consider that his off-season weight of 240 pounds offers the thickness that most bodybuilders yearn for. Despite placing 5th in his weight class, Rick's symmetry and potential was the best on stage. Okay, we know that he was holding too much water, but we expect Rick to easily compete over 210 pounds next season. Not as massive, but in better condition was second-place John Simbita from Kitchener, Ontario. 6.5 years ago, the 5'7" bodybuilder started training, as he put it, just to get my arms to 16 inches. Well, at 188 pounds, John's arms now measure well over 18, along with overall body size to match. Throughout high school, John would mess around with weights for sports like track and field, soccer, and hockey. But it was after graduation that bodybuilding took hold of John.
I was one of those guys who went in spurts, and I'd see my abs fading away. Then I'd get into 3 months of rigorous training, the abs come back, and that was it for a while.
It was a sticky situation for the winner of the light heavies, since on the night of the contest, he was declared the winner. But over 2 weeks later, he was stripped of his trophy. Joe Spinello from Montreal elected to take the voluntary anabolic steroid test offered by the Canadian bodybuilding officials on the day of the show, assuming he'd pass and be a representative at the World Championships in Paris. His test came back positive. Joe now questions the validity of the testing procedure and wonders why the laboratory may have waited 2 weeks before testing his urine sample. At 5'6" and weighing 188 pounds, Joe is a 22-year-old muscle man who loved the sport from the start. Now to the big boys, the heavyweights. Placing 5th was Tony Ayer from Winnipeg. This 5'9", 208-pound bodybuilder has seen better days at the Canadian Championship, having placed 2nd in both 1987 and 88. Perhaps the heavies were just a little bigger this year. Tony is a juvenile counselor and enjoys working with the kids on the street and at the youth center. He says that they relate well to him and has no problems earning their respect, especially with his body. Tony played football at the University of Manitoba and is president of his provincial bodybuilding federation. Ahead of Tony was a charismatic bodybuilder that had some of the best symmetry seen at the Canadas in years. 25-year-old Bruce Cashman hails from Quebec, and due to time taken off from a motorcycle injury, has packed on a balanced proportion of muscle on his 5'11" frame. His joints are small, and muscle attachments are nearly perfect for developing into a classic, powerful, and balanced body. Bruce started training when he was 20 and competed just a year later. In just 2 years, he won his Quebec Provincial Championships. In 3rd place was Ben Levesque, who won the 1982 and 83 Mr. Montreal. But after a 4-year layoff due to an ankle injury, Ben came back to put 11 years of training to use. Standing 5'9" and weighing 210 pounds on stage, he started training to get bigger for high school baseball and hockey. The 29-year-old bodybuilder is now studying to become an architect. The veteran of this year's Canadian Championships was 2nd place Les Berthollet from Winnipeg. The 5'8" muscle man gets up to 230 pounds in the offseason and is a 5-time light heavyweight class winner at the Canadians. But cutting off over 32 pounds of body weight was too much this year, so Les moved up to the heavies. He weighed in at 208 pounds and didn't lose an ounce of muscle definition.
My training, my diet decided that for me. You see, it was just too hard for me to get down to the 198-pound limit. This year I weighed in about 206, and I'm very sharp, so I was satisfied with that.
Winning the heavyweight class was a 32-year-old family man from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Frank Tomchak got involved in training when he was 16 to build upper body strength and stability for hockey and went on to play semi-pro. Weighing 214 pounds at 5'9", Frank is unusual with his contest diet, consuming between 3,000 to 5,000 calories per day. He says he can't train even while dieting for a contest without enough food and energy. But most important about bodybuilding, Frank likes its self-satisfaction and stress release mechanisms. He also enjoys the outdoors and frequently takes his two sons fishing. Overall, the Canadian Championships was probably one of the best national-level competitions we've seen in years, even in the U.S. As our representative Charlie Sinicole put it, these guys and gals were awesome. For Muscle Magazine, I'm John Kobick reporting.
Coming up, world champion powerlifter Gary Drigo demonstrates some of his unorthodox training methods. Don't knock it, they work.
If only there was an easy way to exercise. Stop. Introducing Walk and Roll from TelExpress. Now you can walk to a fitter, trimmer, healthier you. Exercise the feet and ankles. Firm and shape your calves. Slim and tone your thighs. Define the hips. Tighten and shape the buttocks. Rediscover that waistline and flatten the tummy. 18 padded rollers. 6 white indicate walking zone. Extended black rollers for rollback. All cushion impact. For a leisurely stroll or a brisk walk. Great for a jog, speed walking, or a run. Fully assembled and satisfaction guaranteed. Order Walk and Roll today on this exclusive TelExpress offer and get fit for 3 easy payments of $43. Just put one foot in front of the other and walk and roll.
Don't send any money. Just call 1-800-541-6667. We'll bill your credit card 3 monthly payments of only $43 plus shipping and handling. Just 3 monthly payments. So call 1-800-541-6667 now.
Welcome back to the Best of Muscle Magazine. Gary Drigo started powerlifting as a teenager. Today, he's a world champion and demonstrates his methods at the Sunrise, Florida Gold's Gym.
Hi, I'm Gary Drigo, winner of the 1989 Senior National Powerlifting Championships and overall best lifter. You know, a lot of bodybuilders come up to me and ask me how they could get bigger and stronger in the off-season. So I'm here to show you how you could accomplish that by the 3 basic movements: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. So I want to start off with the squat, the mass builder for the legs.
The squat is an overall strength movement, which primarily works the quadriceps, hamstrings, and hip flexors. The key is to begin with a comfortable stance, usually a bit wider than shoulder width for a power squat. Your toes are pointed slightly outward, allowing the knees to also flare outward, which is not only more natural, but safer too. Squat deeply, beyond a parallel position with the floor. The upper hip should descend lower than the front of your thigh, which is where you are judged for a legal lift in an actual meet. Then, drive off your heels using all the muscle groups together, giving a more stable and balanced movement and thus more power. Form is essential, not only to maximize the lift, but also to prevent injury. When preparing for a meet, I keep my reps around 5, and closer to the contest, that comes down to triples and doubles. The bench press is an explosive movement, which gauges the overall strength of the upper body. The first thing to do before benching is to determine a comfortable grip. Depending, of course, on your build, a close grip is primarily used by smaller lifters. A wide grip is more commonly used, but it doesn't utilize the overall lat and places a lot of stress on the shoulders. I personally prefer a medium grip, which allows me to utilize all of the involved muscle groups to their fullest. As you begin the lift, keep your feet on the floor and your butt flat on the bench. Control the weight as you bring it down to the lower chest. Then, drive it off your chest with the lats and lower pecs. As the movement continues, the middle and upper pecs, as well as the shoulders and triceps, are all combined to finish the press. Remember to keep your lats tight, your elbows in, to take the stress off the shoulders, and to control the weight throughout. No bouncing off the chest. The final powerlifting movement is the deadlift, which harnesses the power of the legs and the lower back. There are 2 deadlift stands. conventional and sumo style. With the more common conventional stance, the feet are comfortably placed at shoulder width. An over and under grip is used to give a better grip control, and the legs are slightly above parallel, keeping the bar as close to the shins as possible. Don't jerk the bar. Instead, preload it, which means put constant tension on the bar. Then start your pull. Again, drive off the heels and pull through to the top of the movement. Throw your hips forward, locking out the knees while pulling your shoulders back, completing the lift. The sumo style stance is a variation which benefits a more powerful lower body lifter. The feet are placed much wider, with the hands inside of the thighs. The back is upright and more hip and thigh are used to drive the weight off the floor. The back is still used, but not as much.
Those are my training tips on how to gain power and size using the bench press, the squat, and the deadlift. But there's one important thing to remember. I've been powerlifting for 5 years, and I haven't been injured. I train smart and know how much weight my body can and cannot handle. So train hard, know your body's limitations, and if you're going to train heavy, use a spotter. I'm Gary Drigo for Muscle Magazine.
Just ahead, Trent Mitchell explains how beta-carotene can have some surprising effects for the bodybuilder.
Can your motor oil survive the punishment today's engines dish out? Circulating the oil twice as fast, working the oil twice as hard, breaking it down and causing it to lose its viscosity. That's why you need an oil with the additive that does more to help prevent viscosity breakdown. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's car.
Many bodybuilders think that beta-carotene is beneficial only for your eyesight. Trent Mitchell joins us now from GNC with some little-known information about vitamin A.
Hi, I'm Trent Mitchell. On this edition of GNC's Nutrition News, I'd like to talk about beta-carotene and why it's important to the bodybuilder. Beta-carotene is often referred to as provitamin A and is actually a non-toxic form of this vitamin. When taking regular vitamin A supplements, the danger of getting too much is very real, because it's fat-soluble and the body stores it in the liver and fatty tissue. If you take too much, it could result in headaches, nausea, and dizziness. On the other hand, when you take beta-carotene capsules, this substance is converted to vitamin A by the body only if it needs it. In other words, you won't produce any toxic effects when you get your vitamin A from this source. Why should we supplement our diets with beta-carotene? This essential nutrient has 3 characteristics that make it important to the bodybuilder. Number 1, it's been shown to have cancer prevention properties. Number 2, it helps give the skin a golden color. And number 3, beta-carotene gives the skin a sun protection factor of 2. Everyone is concerned about cancer, and beta-carotene has been shown to boost the body's defenses against this often fatal disease. In a study done at the University of Arizona in Tucson, showed that 75% of its patients reversed a pre-malignant form of cancer by taking a single 30-milligram capsule of beta-carotene each day. Also, in an ongoing study at Harvard Medical School, doctors are getting good results by giving a single 30-milligram capsule of beta-carotene each day as well. Another benefit of taking beta-carotene is its effect on skin color. It's no secret that a darker skin tone makes muscle size and definition more prominent. This is why all competitive bodybuilders go for that golden bronze look. Because beta-carotene is actually a pigment responsible for the orange or yellow coloring in many fruits and vegetables, it will also give your skin a good base color. This slight golden tone isn't enough to go on stage with, but it will provide you with a beneficial beginning tan, which means you'll need less artificial skin coloring as well as less exposure to the sun's harmful rays. But the skin coloration provided by beta-carotene isn't only a cosmetic benefit. It provides some real protection as well. Beta-carotene will actually allow you to stay in the sun up to 2 times longer than normal before burning begins. Considering how much sunning competitive bodybuilders do, they need all the protection they can get. One last thing to consider. Vitamin E interferes with carotene absorption. So if you're using a vitamin E supplement, for best results, don't take it together with beta-carotene. Till next time, I'm Trent Mitchell for Muscle Magazine.
Oatmeal there. You know how I've always believed in a good, solid breakfast that includes oatmeal. Now, I don't want to be pushy, but trust your muscle.
Just right. The light and crispy multigrain cereal with oatmeal.
Leave yourself a good half hour extra to get up and cook it. And if she won't get up and do it for you, you just drop by Mother's house and I'll make sure.
Thanks, Mom.
Just right from Kellogg's. The light and crispy multigrain cereal with oatmeal. It's just right.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Best of Muscle Magazine. Thanks for watching, and we want to remind you that we're pushing for a drug-free America, and we hope you are too. For Muscle Magazine, I'm Ed Ryba.